Hello and welcome to another edition of Stu's Music Quiz, this week coming to you from 1981. Remember, 30 questions, so you might want a pencil and paper there to note your answers down. The answers will be at the end of the quiz, so if you carry straight on afterwards, you see how well you've done. And don't forget at the same time that this is not a time-bound quiz, so if you feel you want to pause any of the way through, particularly some of the more cryptic answers, feel free to. We'll see how you go. Okay, without any further ado, let's get going. We'll start with some trivia questions about 1981. How well do you remember the year? I was 8. I was 8 back then, so my memory is mostly of putting a piece of white paper over the front of my face and pretending to be a certain pop star of the day during every art lesson at school. Anyway, question 1. As I couldn't even ask you this, everyone knows Bucks Fizz won the Eurovision Song Contest famously in 81. But what theatrical moment in their performance is often considered to have tipped the scales in their favour? What theatrical moment in their performance is often considered to have tipped the scales in their favour? Okay, another one. I remember watching this as well, even my age. After an appearance on prototype reality show The Big Time, I think it was the third series by then of it as well, this Scottish singer had a 1981 US #1 and 2 singles in the top 10 simultaneously in the UK. So, after appearing on this prototype reality show, this Scottish singer had a #1 in the US and 2 singles simultaneously in the top 10 in the UK. Obviously did wonders for him. Number 3 then. Whose free reunion concert in Central Park attracted a crowd of more than 500,000? Whose free reunion concert in Central Park attracted a crowd of more than 500,000? Okay, there's some trivia questions for you. On to the biggest sellers now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some questions here to see if you can identify the 5 biggest selling singles of 1981. Just some little clues to help you along the way. Let's start with the biggest seller. You might know anyway. It was a cover version, which was described by its singer as a mixture of cold electronics with an over-passionate, over-exuberant, slightly out of key vocal. The biggest selling single of the year, a cover version described by its singer as a mixture of cold electronics with an over-passionate, over-exuberant, slightly out of key vocal. Okay, coming in behind it, the second biggest seller, the Dandy Highwaymen. Should give it away to you. The Dandy Highwaymen, second biggest seller of the year. The third biggest seller was the third biggest seller of the year, but it wasn't the biggest seller for this artist. Diana Dawes appeared in the video. So it might have been the third biggest selling single of the year, but it wasn't even the biggest selling single for this artist of the year. Diana Dawes appeared in the video. Yeah, I mean, when I say not the biggest seller for this artist, I mean not the biggest seller of the year for this artist. They had a bigger seller. You get what I mean. And if you're confused, never mind. Sorry. The fourth biggest seller was a UK and US #1 in 1954 in its original, and it was covered in 1981 by a Welsh Elvis wannabe who used to live around the corner from me. Not in Wales. I didn't live in Wales, but down in Woking. UK and US #1 in 1954, covered in 1981 by a Welsh Elvis wannabe. And the fifth biggest seller of the year is Britain's favourite #2, according to various charts over the years, kept off the top spot by an Italian Aussie with a blackboard. Britain's favourite #2, kept off the top spot by an Italian Aussie with a blackboard. Okay. Album covers. we're going to go to some album covers here. Love my album art. Look at this cover from 81. This was the debut album from some British legends. Who were those British legends? Kudos to you if you can name the album as well, but I'm looking for the name of the group whose debut album this was in 81. Now, this was the album which a bunch of prog rockers turned into pop rockers. Again, what's the name of the group? And again, kudos if you can get the album as well. What's the name of the group? Slight break from the album covers to name that video, which was proof that videos were clearly better back in 1981. Look at that. It's not scary at all, is it? Name the video. To name the song for which that is a video. Not just the artist, the song. Okay, let's have some lyrics, shall we? 1981 saw this wonderful hit. No prizes for getting the song. You've got to finish it. A love-struck Romeo sang the streets a serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. Finds a streetlight, steps out of the shade, says something like, what does he say? He finds a streetlight, steps out the shade, says something like, and as with last week and the week before, the number of asterisks are accurate to the number to the letters, as long as I've made a mistake. Okay, well, if you didn't get that one, oh dear. If you know the song, you did, but never mind. Number 13, have a go at this one. Mister, can you tell me where my love has gone? He's a... Mister, can you tell me where my love has gone? He's a... What was he? I'm sure you remember there. What about this? Why must the youth fight against themselves? Government leaving the youth on the shelf. This place is coming like a... Single of the year, in my opinion, this. Why must the youth fight against themselves? Government leaving the youth on the shelf. This place is coming like a... Okay, let's move on to some cryptic albums. Okay, so the way this works is I'm going to give you, these are all 1981 albums. And what I've done is I've tried to represent them in a picture form, but obviously with a bit of a cryptic twist for you. It's not quite catchphrase. It's not quite say what you see. Have a look at what you see and think what that might be. So there's number 15 for you. It's the title of the album, remember? Okay, number 16. You might need a good close look at that picture there. These are the ones, of course, where you may want to pause and take your time. Number 17. What a picture that is on the left. Look at that. Get you going, won't it? And my last cryptic album for the time being, and I make no apologies for this, because I had fun making this and coming out with this. That one pretty much is a Say What You See. Of course, if you've never heard of the album, you're going to be very confused, I would think. Okay, so 18 questions down, 12 to go. What comes next? It is more lyrics for you. Have a go at this one. A police car and a screaming siren, a pneumatic drill and ripped up concrete, A baby wailing and stray dog howling, the screech of brakes and lamplight blinking. What's next? A police car and a screaming siren, a pneumatic drill and ripped up concrete, a baby wailing and stray dog howling, the screech of brakes and lamplight blinking. What comes next? There we go. And another little one thrown in here, another little video there. Do you remember that video? I'm sure you do. Massive hit of the year. Just name what that video was. Right now, these strange sounds are me just adjusting my microphone setting, because it is time for Name That Tune. This, of course, being the round where I'm going to play you now 4 tunes or 4 parts of songs, and you've got to name them. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But of course, the gimmick, the problem is it's me playing the piano and I'm not a pianist. So here comes number 21, first of all. This is the opening of a big hit from right at the beginning of 1981. How about that? You're sitting at home now, aren't you, going, I can't believe he's not a pianist. That sounded like professional standard. Well, let's see if I let myself down with this one. Right, this next one is number 22. And this is the tune for a hit of 1981. I'm going to do that one again for you. So I'm pleased with my playing of it. There you go. So that was the tune for another one. Let's have number 23. This is the chorus. I'm not going to play much of it. This is the chorus of a massive song from 81. Yeah, you got that one, didn't you? Maybe I should have made that harder. Never mind, number 24. Right, this is my most common. So I'm going to try and play the intro to this very famous 81 hit. There you go. I think the last two were the easier ones there, but I think that's fairly straightforward anyway, wasn't it? Right. Back to my voice setting. Allow me to speak to you in my gravelly tones like a late night DJ. We've got more album covers coming up for you now. Let's have a look at the next 1981 album cover. Whose 16th studio album looked like that? Whose 16th studio album looked like that? Again, I'm looking for the band. And what about this one? I want the name of the album here, please. The name of this album, which is by arguably the biggest band in the world at this point in 1981. Arguably, but I'd say they probably were. certainly in the Western world anyway. The biggest band in the world in 81. This was their 81 album. What is it called? Okay, let's bring ourselves on to the last little bit here. Now, 1981 was known for its novelties and comedy songs. Here's 4 of them. All you got to do is name who had a hit with these songs in 1981. So I want the name of the artist, please. 27 is the Birdie song. We'll all remember that. But who had a hit with it? Number 28 was The Oldest Swinger in Town. Again, you might remember it, but do you remember the artist? 29, Rabbit. And 30, who had a hit with Can Can? Wow, there we are. 30 questions for 81. I hope you did all right with that. If you're ready for it now, let me give you the answers. As I'm about to do so, you'll have seen, of course, at the bottom of the screen all the way along is a little link there. The reason I'm doing this is, of course, to raise money for charity. This is a charity very, very dear to my heart. This is why I started doing this. I wanted to raise money for Young Minds UK. I've worked with teenagers nearly all my life. Well, I've been a teenager before working with them, but certainly been working them for over 25 years now. And you know, some of the situations really at the moment with mental health are scandalous. They're horrific to see. You know, particularly after this latest lockdown period. We're in a real, you know, an epidemic really in terms of young people's mental health. Young Minds UK do a wonderful job in supporting, assisting, and providing counselling and help and support. You know, these people are very, very strong risks, and Young Minds UK do a wonderful job with them. So I'm trying to raise money. So if you're enjoying this at all, please go on to my Just Giving page and just give me a little bit of money. That would be lovely. And we'll help raise money for Young Minds. Okay, right, let's see how you've done. Let's start with these trivia questions. So where do we begin with? Well, we began with Bucks Fizz. Remember, the men pulled off their skirts. If you didn't know, you're too young, you can always look it up on YouTube. It's all right, they were wearing other skirts underneath. So in the middle of this performance in the Eurovision Song Contest, which, by the way, went really, really badly. Again, if you do look it up on YouTube, I mean, it's dreadful. I believe Cheryl Baker was singing in a different key to everybody else, she says. Yeah, at one point during the song, they reached out and pulled the long skirts off the other ones, and they were wearing mini skirts underneath. It's tame by today's standards, isn't it? But it was a big thing, and everyone liked it at the time. And they do reckon it's what gave them their, I think, 3-point victory over the Germans in the end. Quite possibly. Okay. Number 2, Sheena Easton. It was Sheena Easton who was the person in the prototype reality show, The Big Time, who was taken around to get advice from all kinds of people. I remember her getting very short shrift from Lulu at one point. But on the back of it, she became a big star briefly with her 9 to 5, not Dolly Parton's one, her own 9 to 5 song. And yeah, then she did a Bond theme for Your Eyes Only this year as well. Yeah, disappeared then pretty much until Prince resurrected her career, didn't he, back many years later. There we go. And the final trivia one, the people in the free concert in Central Park with over 500,000 there, it was Simon and Garfunkel's reunion. It was the Simon and Garfunkel reunion. Okay, what about these biggest sellers, these 5 biggest sellers for us? Right, here they go. First of all, Tainted Love. Yes, it was Mark Ormond who gave that description of his performance on that as being over enthusiastic and out of key over a cold, detached thing there. Not a very nice summary of it, but it was a massive hit, wasn't it? And still is today. People love it. Stand and Deliver, the Dandy Hyman. Prince Charming came after that. Oh, we'll all remember the dance to that if you're around at the time. Well, walk, really, with it long before the Macarena. Shakin' Stevens, This Old House. That was the 1954 UK and US #1, which he had a hit with in that really dodgy video, if you remember, which was like a very cheap version of the Bee Gees' Stayin' Alive video, wasn't it? Appearing in the windows of a derelict house. Never mind. And Vienna, of course, was the nation's favourite #2, kept off #1 famously by Shut Up Your Face by the Joe Dolce Music Theatre. A man with a blackboard getting everyone to sing along on Top of the Pops. A crime that many have not forgiven anyone for there. Right. Now, what about the album covers? Oh, my goodness me. Let's have a go and see if we can get this. Who came first here? Who came first? It was Depeche Mode, of course, with Speak and Spell. Depeche Mode's debut album there were the prog rockers. It was Genesis with Abacab. You could argue that their previous album was the first move away really from prog rock, but this one really was the one that pushed them towards that kind of pop rock thing that really took them through the 80s afterwards. And what about the video? You got to know that man, haven't you? Yes, of course, it's Cliff and Wired for Sound. Cliff Richard, never one, of course, to miss out on a trend. About a year or so after Walkmans, were the huge thing. Here comes Cliff with a song about listening to music through headphones and the like, in which he roller skates around quite inexplicably, pulling strange faces, wearing dark glasses. It's creepy, it really is. I would say go and watch the whole video, but I really don't want you to go through that. Complete the lyrics. I'm sure some of you just took this straight away. As soon as it came to you, you could just keep it going. But a love-struck Romeo sang the street to serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. Finds a street light, steps out of the shade, says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?" And what you don't know, of course, is that is actually Mark Knopfler took that as a direct quote from William Shakespeare. That's exactly after the whole Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, and all of that kind of thing. He steps out in front of her and goes, "You and me, babe, how about it?" Exactly how it works. Yeah, there we go. Number 13. Mister, can you tell me why love has gone? He's a Japanese boy. Do you remember that? That got to #1, didn't it? I think only for a week. He's a Japanese boy. Well, there you go. That must be why you could tell where he's gone. And the classic, why must the youth fight against themselves? Government leaving the youth on the shelf. If you didn't know that bit, of course, this place is coming like a ghost town. What a wonderful song from the Specials there. They performed it on Top of the Pops. Went backstage and the Fun Boy 3, as they turned around in the dressing room afterwards and told them that's it, they're quitting. And that was the end of the Specials. Yeah, pretty much. Or certainly in that incarnation at the beginning. Off went Fun Boy 3 to do their thing. Well, right on top. Oh, Specials. Coming from around the corner from me, yeah? Coventry's greatest. No wonder they sang depressing songs. Right, moving on to the Cryptic albums. Did you get this? Well, on the left is a piece of architecture, and on the left is Homer Simpson debating his morality. The classic Architecture and Morality by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Yeah, see? Oh, there we go. Anyway, hope you liked it, even if you didn't get it. What about this one? I'm sure you got No Sleep. There you go. No Sleep until. That was my best until there. It's not equal to, so not until you get there. Well, that's what I was thinking anyway. No Sleep Until Hammersmith. The Motorhead live album, often christened one of the greatest live albums of all time, from 81 there. Okay. Then, what about this one? Well, if you could get over that spectacular picture on the left there, that, of course, is Tom Jones. Next to him is Tom Hiddleston. And next to that is a club sandwich. Tom Tom Club. The album by Tom Tom Club, the offshoot of Talking Heads. There we are. And finally, the Cryptic albums. Well, okay, let me take you through this. Right. That is Bill Clinton's My Life. That, of course, is George Bush. It's in George Bush's hands. And you might recognise the BBC programme Ghosts there. If not, it's pretty obvious they are ghosts. So it's My Life in the bush of ghosts. Okay, if you haven't heard of it, it's a great album. I just like that bit. Anyway, never mind. My Life in the bush. I also like the idea of George W. having to hold Bill Clinton's book in front of him. There was a story, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but when Bill Clinton left office and George W. came in to take over, they got the staff to remove all the W's from the computers. I'm not sure that's true, but it's a good story anyway, isn't it? Okay, more lyrics for us there. I do recommend My Life in the Bush of Ghosts if you don't know it at all. Complete the lyrics here. Police car and a screaming siren, pneumatic drill and ripped up concrete, a baby wailing and stray dog howling, the screech of brakes and lamplight blinking. That's entertainment. The Jam. That's entertainment. Cracking song, isn't it, really? Jam, of course, on their way. 82 was going to be their year, wasn't it? 82 was the year that they really blew the world apart with a town called Malice and Going Underground, going straight in at #1 as well. But there we are. That's their hit there. And of course, That's Entertainment was famously as well. It was a hit on import. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying it was only available on an import, I think, from Japan. And yet it still got to the top 20, I think. Yeah, and there we are. What about this video? This was the wonderful Fade to Grey by Visage. There's the sad, lamented Steve Strange, who fronted that wonderful piece of electronic music there. Okay, on to my very sad piano playing there. Although it's quite good this week, I thought. I'll give myself some credit here. What was that first opening to the song there with all that repeated boom, 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 boom at the bottom there? It was, of course, Flash by Queen. One of the first new hits of the year, actually, right back in January there. Terrific stuff. And then what about the tune? That was UB40 before they went nuts and just started covering everything else, doing their own songs there. The wonderful 1 in 10. I am the 1 in 10, a number on a list. Even though I don't exist. Wow. Number 23. I'm sure you got that. 6 notes, but it was Girls on Film, wasn't it? Of course it was. I could have stood here and, if I could, my old camera, just constantly press the button and that would have given it to you as well, wouldn't it, from the opening? And 24. Oh, I can't imagine any of you didn't get that intro. Surely you just can't get enough. It's Depeche Mode again. Okay, making their entrance. Always enjoy that film. Sorry, the film clips of them singing that. Dave Gahan in his little wearing his little bow tie and holding a little tiny trumpet in his hand, and you think to yourself, that's the guy who's going to be singing Personal Jesus in or even in a shorter amount of time, going to be rumbling down with Let's Play Master and Servant or something along those lines. That's a big change, wasn't it? Girls on Film, of course, going back to that, famously had a very X-rated video. And here we go, some more album covers for you. This was, of course, the Rolling Stones, I think, the album Tattoo You. Tattoo You. The tour was huge. I think bigger than the album itself, but that's what they were by this time. The second one, of course, the biggest group in the world at the time, arguably, but I'd say was the Police. They were really huge at this point, weren't they? And their album from this year, of course, was Ghost in the Machine. And that was the answer of it. Okay, Ghost in the Machine. Which brings us to our final collection here of the novelties and comedy songs, testing your memory there. I'm sure you knew all 4 of them, but could you remember who did it? Many of you will have got that the Birdie song, of course, was the Tweets. Yeah. Do you know, it's another example of false memory this. I was convinced the Birdie song not only got to #1, but was #1 for ages. And then looking this up and researching this quiz, no, not at all. It's funny how your memory plays tricks with you. But again, as I said, I was 8. The oldest swinger in town, Fred Wedlock. Fred Wedlock. Bit of a crime against humanity, that song was, really, wasn't it? Never mind. I only remember it because it mentioned Brute. But there you are. That was my dad's aftershave at the time. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. You got more rabbit than Sainsbury's, sang Chaz and Dave, of course. They'd probably be a bit upset if I called that a novelty or a comedy song, but there you are. It was good fun anyway, wasn't it? And of course, who did that big can-can performance? It was Buster Bloodvessel in Bad Manners, running around kicking wildly. I remember many a primary school disco where, probably having just done the Birdie song dance, we'd run around as boys kicking randomly to the can-can, thinking that's what we should have done. Anyway, never mind. How did you do on that? Oh, I'd love to hear from you and let me know. And I'd also love to hear from you and tell me what you're making of these, especially if you did the old Stu's Music quizzes. And, you know, how's the new one going? Are you enjoying it? Is it as good? Have I thrown out anything that you didn't like or kept in something that you did? I think I've got that the wrong way around, haven't I? Anyway, there will be a new quiz next week. At the same time, please do remember, as I said, to donate. Please, 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 even if it's only tiny amounts. And do subscribe to my YouTube channel. The more subscribe, the more power I get. And yeah, follow me on Twitter. Why not? And pick up when the new quizzes are coming through. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed this revisit back to the years of 1981. What a year it was as well. Pop music in the early 80s was something great, wasn't it? And who knows what year it will be next week? I'll see you then.